favorite bar would probably be Jack's because they have the dollar beers every Monday and Wednesday, and that's pretty much the most bang for your buck that you can get when it comes to alcohol. Plus, it's always a good time with some good beats too.
So this scene was done indoors at night, so there was no natural light to be used. So we used the dining room light and a lamp to provide as much light as possible on Greg. It was placed on either side to prevent any shadows. You could clearly see his eyes. There was a slight shadow behind him, but other than that, everything came out clear. I think overall the scene looks really good. It's well lit indoors. Also, a good background was used. I recommend that people doing this assignment in the future use as much light as possible to eliminate any possible shadows.
Well, personally, I think the increase on minimum wage really benefits my demographic as I'm a student and I need to make as much money in short periods of time as possible. So $14 an hour really helps me do that. But in the long run, I don't see it being a sustainable economy.
I think the indoor during the daytime interview came out really well. Behind the camera, there's a large window and glass sliding doors, so I used as much natural light as possible. And I think it worked for the better. Greg's face is clearly lit up. There's no shadows or anything, no glare. I feel like the mood in the scene is positive because of the light that's being brought in. My future recommendation for this would be to always maximize the amount of natural light you can use. It looks better, it looks cleaner, and the clip always looks better.
Well, my dad turned me on to the Leafs when I was a really young kid, probably about 3 or 4 years old, when they were actually good in the early 2000s. And then I just learned to cheer for the team through all the hardships. And luckily, they're finally turned the corner and looking like they're good contenders again.
For the interview outdoor at night, it was taken outside of my house. The lights we used were the porch light and the front foyer light inside the house. We just left the door open to provide as much light as possible for what we were given. His face is fairly lit, but there are definitely more shadows given that it's nighttime. But you can still see his face. The shadows affect the image because it gives less light and it's harder to see his face, his reaction, his emotion. It definitely could be brighter. My recommendation for people doing this project would be to find as much lighting as they can get outside. If you have flashlights or porch lights.
Well, I think with the New York Yankees trading for Giancarlo Stanton and the Boston Red Sox bolstering their lineup, I think the Blue Jays don't have a chance to contend in the AL East for the next decade or so. So they should just cut everything and stop trying.
For outside during the day, I thought this clip came out best out of all of them. The lights we used were just simply sunlight. Given that it was snowing and there was a lot of snow on the ground, it provided light to bounce off the snow onto Greg's face, so he was completely surrounded. There was no shadows around him. It was a well-lit, clean video. His face is very easy to see. Overall, I think the clip came out great. The mood, using the climate conditions, the snow, just the sunlight outside, it was a positive energy. It was a good clip. My recommendation would be when you're filming outside, stay out of any shadows. Just use as much sunlight as you can possibly use, and the clip should come out great.